Good call, Ben. Remember, this computer was moved, so it's probably going to be like a week-long process getting it back up and going. Yeah, it should be good now. I was over here. Thankfully, I hadn't really started talking. I said, what's up to the two Zachs and Ethan and Ben? Same to you. Zach, Chad, we're doing it. This is the full recap. What about now? Can you hear me? It's showing that it's playing now. No, I'm dumb. It was me. Come on, y'all know this. Zach, I asked her what was y'all's favorite part about the show. And it was. I also said it was great to meet both of y'all, which told you again, but it was still great. National and AC were doing it. Chad would have been arrested. Chad in Atlantic City is going to be a sight to see. Yeah, we're definitely you know, I'm pumped next year. This year, I kind of wanted to go get my feet wet a little bit, kind of see what it was all about. But next year, even though tables might already be sold out, we'll figure that out. I've got 360, what, 2 days, 1 days, 360 days to figure out that. I will have table space. I already reached out to the show this morning to kind of talk about that. So, yeah, we're going to do that. What I want, and I was kind of talking to Laura about it. So to me, the best part about having a table was just you had somewhere to be. Um, you kind of had a home base, if you will, where you could just kind of go and come and go, and you could take a load off when you needed to, and you didn't have to sit there and you know just walk around aimlessly all day. And hey, you bring in coolers and stuff. Like I'm sure they don't want you to, but they're not policing it. So that's the one thing I saw too. Like a lot of dudes just sitting behind their booths, just kind of drinking a few. Um, so that's kind of my goal is just to have a place where, and you guys, like, of course, are more than welcome. And like, I think I'm gonna have. So again, this is just kind of loose spitball plans, and I have nothing set in stone, like at all. Again, they might be sold out of tables, but I'll figure that out. What I want is like one or two tables, just kind of big spot, the kind of deep fried breaks, hang out. And I'm gonna have like an empty slab, an empty display case, and where you guys can bring stuff and put out. Obviously, if we got 20, 25 guys coming in, everybody can't just bring 50 slabs to put in there. But if you got one or two that you're trying to move, be happy to help you do that. So that because you can move, like I walked around with my slab back on and was just kind of walking up to the table, seeing what guys are buying. It's just so tough because everybody's trying to buy you, trying to put you under the table. Through the show, Ben, they're 1,200 or 1,295, I think. So about 1,300 bucks. I know Zach Copeland. I'm so mad I did not take advantage of the panini packs. So like, you never go leave it. Yeah. My favorite part, honestly, too, I mean, was meeting everyone. I like, that. I keep saying it. I've said it several times on Twitter. Every single one of you was so damn nice that I met. Like, even talking to something like, talking to Phil, and I put that earlier. That kind of stuff. Like all the guys that I've met, just through some of the guys like Gio. I'd never met Gio in person. I talked to him for probably 4 years. Like I put something on his podcast thing yesterday. We've been internet friends for like 4 years, and finally got to meet him. That was awesome. Just everything. So yeah, I kind of want to talk about and like the dealer thing. So I've seen a lot. Chad messaged me this morning too, and this is kind of what sparked the conversation. Okay, you know a guy that knows a guy. Then get me too. So you know, Chad kind of sparked the thought process behind this morning. He reached out and he asked me, give me your honest opinion. What was it like? And I was just like, it was incredible. But, you know, and he was right. I saw a lot of it too, the negativity on Twitter. And I told him, I was like, man, I bet a lot of that's come from people who aren't there. And, they just hear one thing and they take off running. And I will say this, and it was kind of the overwhelming presence of the show. Most dudes were high on sticker prices on cards. And I told people it's kind of what I said. You shouldn't be paying. You're probably not paying sticker prices anyways, if you know what you're doing when you walk up to tables. But there were a lot of guys that were like 30% over sticker or over eBay on sticker prices, and I know some of it would be kind of maybe trying to take advantage of people who aren't 100% aware of stuff. But I would kind of just walk away. If I walk up to the table and I saw somebody like trout updates. The only reason I noticed it because my buddy Pete that went with me was he was looking for a trout update, or he was looking for some type of trout rookie. So we were kind of both had our eyes peeled. Almost every other table had something available, and I saw PSA 10s upwards of $5 grand. You could get that car for 2,800 if you wanted to cash at the show, and like some guys were almost twice that. I saw BGS 95s at 3,500, which is just nuts. And most people who are buying that kind of car aren't, they're a little bit in tune with the market. So, yeah, Twitter is a negative space. Sorry, I'm kind of going through the comments. It's not Chicago. Yeah, prices were high, but again, you kind of had to negotiate. 2,500 for tax. See, I didn't even see a negative, Corey. And the overwhelming thing too, or another, like, because I was with, like I said, my buddy Pete. Pete's a big sapphire guy. There's not a lot of sapphire, and it's a thing he always preaches to me. People think there's a ton of it because it pops up on eBay. I did not see a single Acuna sapphire from 18, not a single one, and I was looking for it. Like if my thought process was if I found a good deal on one, maybe we'd work on something, but did not see a single one of them. 3,500 was price. Wow, yeah. So yeah, you got to know. Nobody bought Brady's. Wow. I saw a ton. The number one guy I saw for sale, Otani, far and away, 2 to 1 over anyone else. Damn it, we're negative. We're negative breed for sure. The wax selection was pretty good. Blowout was the cheapest for the most part. Um, Everything we ripped on Sunday came from the blowout tent or blowout booths or whatever. They were pretty much the cheapest there. Oh yeah, all I did not see a lot of Tua compared to Herbert and Burrow, but you could have any Herbert and Burrow you wanted. Um, Otani was a lot. Yeah, Brady. A lot of people had Brady. I don't know that they were moving him. PSA 10 Montana. Phew. Hey Corey, I don't think I mentioned it was awesome meeting you and chatting it up with you. I saw Corey a couple times. Kept me company a little bit at the Breaker booth on Saturday, so that was great. But yeah, a lot of Brady, but yeah, obviously not a lot moved. One guy I kind of overheard talking to him. I wasn't the one to have the conversation. He said that the number one guy that he had moved was Peyton Manning. That he had moved more Peyton Manning than anybody else. And I overheard it, and I was like, wait, really? That? And he was like, yeah. He's like, I guess just because compared to where he is historically, he's kind of affordable to some of these other guys, and it was a Midwest-based show. He was in Indy, so yeah, Corey P, that's true. You had to. Oh yeah, Zach, that was another thing I've got written down that bugged the hell out of me. The vintage guys especially. Almost every booth you walked up to that was selling vintage, and again, I'm not a vintage guy. That's just I've tried to kind of avoid that rabbit hole because I know once it happens, like I'm going in. It's not going to be, and so I'm just trying to stay away from it just because I know that that's just another avenue that I've got to start collecting or whatever. But Pete, that I was, he was with me most of the time, so you'll hear his name pop up several times. He kind of noticed it. Almost every one of them were selling, like they would have their, Clemente 60, whatever, and it would have like EXX graded, or not graded, it would be raw, but they would have like a self evaluation, and they were trying to sell it at PSA prices. And I'm like, that's not how this works. Like, am I going to go to PSA and drop $200? What if it doesn't come back what you said it was? You can give me the $200 and my money back? Nah. So, yeah, that was kind of an overwhelming thing. So, and like trying to just walk up to a table and sell was pretty tough. Guys wanted to give you 50% of comps, then turn around and sell it at 125% of comps. So you just kind of had to know who you could and couldn't deal with. Um, that was kind of one of the things. So yeah, I saw obviously a ton of slabs. Almost all displays were slabbed cards. I didn't spend a lot of time at the dollar boxes. I'm sure, everybody says there are deals to be had. At a place like that where there's so much stuff, it's for me, it's tough to spend too much time digging through dollar boxes. And I'll say this, and again, I told Chad this morning. If you're doing it, don't do it for a day. Don't just plan to go up on a Saturday. There's just so much, and you'll never be able to see it all. We were there. I got in town Wednesday. We hit the show at like 3:30 when it opened, and then stayed till 8 on Wednesday night. To Thursday we got there at 9:30 and left about 11:15, 11:30 to go to the Cubs game. Came back for an hour at the end of the show. Friday we're there pretty much all day until we left about 4:45 to go to the White Sox game. Saturday I broke in the morning and then walked around from about 2 to 5:30. And I know for a fact there's still stuff I didn't see because I bought two cards literally as I was walking to get my bag. So trading, yeah, there were some trades. Usually, not one for one or that kind of thing. On the two, one of the two I got, I worked a deal and traded some, and then got some cash back. But you had to give up a lot on your end to get stuff you wanted in a trade. And a lot of guys knew that if you were trying to sell or trade, it was because you needed a card, a couple booths down, and you needed a cash pretty bad. So they were pretty bad about, you know, I'll give you 50, 60%, and they wouldn't say that, but they would offer you. Say it's a $100 card, they'd say, best I can do is 60. But no, it's a $100 card. Well, and then they'd buy it hypothetically at 60 and turn around and try to sell it at 120. So, yeah, yeah, try to get it in. There's a decent amount of Kobe and Shaq, but that would have been a good place to move it. And there is, so obviously on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, you're gonna see the high roller cards. You know, you're gonna see. I saw Gio did a video earlier, Sports Cards Nonsense, of he had the Aluka black gold prism. I did not see it, but the guy wanted $1 million for it. Like, that's the kind of stuff that gets Instagrammed. You don't get the. I bought a 94 tops Griffey for like $40. A lot of guys weren't posting that. You can go and buy. I'm gonna say buy, like, obviously you got to have money to get to the show and spend the night or at hotels or whatever. However you're doing that, you're not like required to spend anything. And if you have a $150 budget, you could get some decent stuff for whatever you collect, that kind of thing. But it's not everybody just. Well, that was another thing I kind of saw today. Everybody just assumed it was a giant high roller convention. That's not the of course that's what's going to make it on social media, because if you post a $5 card and be like, oh wow, that's a good price on that, people don't care. That's not a story. But if you post the one of one Shield Herbert that was pulled, that's a story. That's something that's going to get likes and retweets and stuff. So that was another thing I just wrote some stuff down. Obviously, like I said, most of the stuff was slabs. Obviously, the premium you had to pay for a PSA 10 was a little absurd. It, you know, PSA 10s are just far and away above everything else right now. Comps and all that. Yeah, Chad, that's kind of what I was thinking too. And that's another one thing I kind of wanted to look at. But yeah, like the slabs, so much PSA, and you can see now why they're backed up. I mean, obviously we knew why, but like Beckett, there wasn't a ton. And then CSG and SGC, I did see a lot more CSGs, and the overwhelming thought that I saw JB talked about it earlier. I got to meet up with him. He was awesome. They, you know, he said kind of what everyone else was talking about. These things are so much better in hand. I'm like, yeah, I've been preaching that since what, February, March? So March, I guess, yeah. So that was kind of the overwhelming thought too. I saw a ton of SGC, but I also saw a lot of the same SGC slabs out when I was leaving on Saturday that I saw on Wednesday. So, I mean, I'm sure there was a ton of it moving, but I don't know. Yeah, it is crazy how many one of ones there are. I did not finish your Tyler Bond Rainbow, John. I'm sorry. Adam, you gotta, yeah, Adam, that's true. Adam, it was great to meet you as well. So, Adam stopped by, or no, Adam, I ran into you. I guess it was at the booth, yeah. Um, Ben, I did, like, I know there was a Griffey CSG that I saw on like Wednesday or Thursday, and I, kind of thought to myself, well, let's see what I pick up. It's not the top of my want list. Um, but maybe I can come back to it. And when I went back to it Saturday morning, it was gone. Um, Again, that's just a one-off thing, but that guy had a lot, and I asked him. He said he had moved a pretty good amount of them. He's moved more than he thought he would move. I moved a couple too. And some of the stuff I sold, there was, some that people wanted. I just told because most of mine are in the little green firebox. I don't know if he's got them on his website yet, but you know, Matt's got the firebox, the green like perfect fits. He had some production issues on some of them, so again, I don't know if he's got them out yet. But I had almost all mine in those. So when I opened my case, I would tell the guy, everybody was looking like, hey, the greens are CSG. I know not a lot of guys are, all the way on those yet. So if you don't want to waste your time, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. Almost all of them looked through them, and that's right. Yep. So that was kind of the thing. So yeah, I mean CSG moved. BGS, it's crazy the pricing on a BGS 9.5 now. Some guys wanted to value it closer to a PSA 10, and a lot were more realistic and value it closer to a PSA 9. And so, again, I keep going back. But Pete had an interesting thought. He said, I'm buying BGS, I'm selling and grading PSA 10s. Because a lot of these BGS True Gems you can crack and they'll go, PSA 10. I wouldn't recommend it on everything, but that's kind of one way to look at it because you can get a good price on a BGS 9.5, and I think the BGS is a good, they're still good. I still stand by my statement that I think by the end of 2022, CSG overtakes BGS as the clear number two in the hobby behind PSA. PSA ain't going anywhere. That's the number one overwhelming thought for me after the show is that PSA is not going anywhere. They're stranglehold on top of the market. I don't know how that gets touched for a long time. But I was talking to Nick Piper from Walk Off Submissions. Met him, awesome guy. We were talking about CSG, and I didn't know this. He said that they took a lot of Beckett graders when they went over or when they started, and so that's kind of why they grade tough, and that's part of it. So I don't know. I think that they'll make a push after this. I think you might still have a little time to snag some CSG slabs on the cheap, but I think that the up is coming. My favorite pickup, Zach, that Tua Peacock is it's just so beautiful in person. I've never seen a peacock in person. I've had that as a saved eBay search for a couple months now, and I never see him pop up. There's a BGS 9.5 on auction that ends end of this week, I think. So I'll be interested to see where that ends at. That and the trout. I mean, obviously the two most expensive. That trout red, the man. The cheapest one. I got that 2 auto for like 200 on the way out. Mosaic. I dropped it at CSG's booth. So we'll see. The PSA thing was crazy too. When I got in Wednesday, when I walked in the show, and it had just opened, and Wednesday's supposed to be the preview night. There's probably 2,000 people in line at PSA to drop off cards. And I'm like, it's $50 more to send it express back to your house in 10 days. Like, save yourself the time and trouble. So, that, and then another thing that, we kind of talked about that they could, I guess, improve upon. One thing I noticed was, a lot of guys had their backpacks and, their little slab cases and stuff. Yeah, that Honus wagon was insane. Yeah, they took some from Beckett too, and I think that's one of the reasons Beckett's so backed up, even worse than PSA's, because they lost a lot of their guys. But yeah, it's just kind of a lot of guys walking around with their Zion cases and their, Firebox slab packs and all that. And you could walk up to tables and try and work on stuff. But you also want to deal with fellow collectors, and the trade nights were. Tua was a guy, Adam, that I didn't see a ton of compared to the other two big names. Acuna, I did not see a ton of Acuna, which I guess if you are setting up at a table at the National, that it's probably not your first rodeo. You got a little bit better understanding of what's going on, and you're probably not going to start selling it at hurt prices on a guy like that. So I did not see it. I mean, the basic update, PSA 10s and stuff like that, sure. One thing too that I know, there are a lot more holiday PSA 10 Acuñas than I thought. I saw a ton of those. But yeah, so like there was not an area where you could just go. I think that next year they need to find a space or just block off a little space and just throw 100 folding tables in there with a bunch of chairs and call it the trade room. And don't let people set up. Like, just kind of have someone walking around and be like, no, you can't just come in and lay down all your slabs and start doing it, because then that would kind of defeat the purpose of getting a table. But like, if, say, I run into Adam and me and Adam want to work on a deal, maybe he's got some Tua that I want and I've got some, whatever he wants, and Keston, right? Yeah. We could go to the trade room and kind of swap some stuff out, show what we got, and that kind of thing. Instead, like, people were kind of going and sitting in the corner of the room and like in the middle of the hallways or in the middle of the showroom floor. So I think that would be a huge improvement. Bars, say what you will, but I would have probably enjoyed a libation had the line not been about 40 to 50 deep every time you walk by. The prices were terrible for beer and alcohol, but I guess I'm so desensitized to that at this point in my life that it takes a lot to shock me when alcohol costs a lot at in a public forum like that. So it kind of is what it is. Just expect to pay ballpark prices because you're kind of all in that centralized location. But there was only like 4 areas to go get a drink. Most of them only had beer and like very selected, like select few liquors, but the lines were almost 50 deep at every one of them all the time. And my whole thought was, I wouldn't mind a drink. I'm not waiting an hour to get a well whiskey and coke. I'll just keep trucking and have an extra at dinner tonight. But that was another thing. Yeah, the champagne room. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Chris Rock told you no sex in the champagne room, but yeah, I mean that. I think that's an idea. And then another one was the coordination of trade nights. So like Panini, I think it was, hosted the big one at the Hyatt Regency. That was on Thursday night, and we weren't 100% sure. Well, any baseball game, Fenway, as of like 2 years ago, was the highest. And after going to a game or two this year, I can assure you they're still right up there. But like the Hyatt had the big trade night that was put on, I think, by Panini. We actually went to dinner that night at Gibson, so we kind of missed out on most of it. And then we went back after we ate, and I didn't have any cards with me. I tweeted out. I felt like a narc because I was walking around in a polo and khakis, so I was like, I'm going back to my room. But I think there needs to be better communication about where stuff's going down, because like Ryan's cards, I didn't get a chance to meet Ryan. I saw him running around like crazy. I wanted to stop and say hello, but he was all over the place. He would like tweet about them and like get to Lowe's, get to wherever, and like people would come, but there needs to be, because like me and Pete, we didn't know, we weren't 100% sure, which we were busy most nights anyways. Wednesday we stayed at the show late. Friday we went to the White Sox game, and then Saturday we flew back. But there needs to be more of an announcement like, hey, tonight, Wednesday night, the trade night, because there's going to be trade nights. And I didn't really get to deal with many, but like I talked to JV and Brad and old Larry Legend, and they were talking about like how that was the best way to kind of get stuff done, because you had 2 willing participants. They weren't dealers, they were just collectors, and like, hey, you like Soto, I like Acuna, let's swap something. That Hyde and Risma, yeah. I didn't stay there. I stayed at the Rose, just because it was like double the price to stay at Hyatt. I still wish I would have stayed at the Hyatt just because the convenience of being right next to it, which I was only like 6.6 miles away, but it was still a little too far to walk when you got a lot of stuff, loaded up. So yeah, and it's something that I talked to, about like maybe next year I'll just create a Twitter account and it's like national happenings. And if there's a trade night, text me, tag me and I'll retweet it. If there's, a group going to a baseball game, tag me, I'll retweet it. Which I think next year is a whole different animal in Atlantic City, um, and all the casinos. Turns out there was a casino like half a mile from the convention center that I didn't know about till Saturday, which is probably good. But so that, just better coordination of it doesn't have to be a Panini sponsored national trade night for the national account to tweet it out. And, I'm sure they're not going to promote it without somebody paying them a little bit to do so. But, if you just have kind of like an unaffiliated account, like the card purchaser, that guy's does a huge service, for everyone, like retweeting all that kind of stuff. He would have been a good one to be like, and he might have. I don't, he or she, I know they've got a lot of stuff, like they do a lot of retweets, so I don't just go scroll through the feed, maybe like I should, but that would be a good one. Just someone that's got a good, huge presence, like letting everybody know, hey, tonight's Lowe's. Thursday night is the Panini sponsored one at Hyatt. Friday night we're going back to Lowe's. Saturday it's at the road, wherever. So I think that's something that could kind of do better in 2021 or 2022. Yeah, Benjamin, we did not go to the casino. I didn't know about it till late in the day. Yeah, Adam, next year I'm going to try. Or not try. I'm going to have a table one way or the other next year. If I have to do it through the Breakers Pavilion or not, I kind of talked about it earlier in the feed, but I'm going to do it, and I want to have it like two or three where we just have like a hub where all the, deep fryers, as Ben calls them, can come in and just take a load off if you're tired of walking around, grab a water. That was another thing too. You had to stand in line to get water, and you're walking around all day. I don't mind, whatever. I don't care to pay $5 for a bottle of water because again, I'm just so desensitized to paying huge prices at nonsense like that. That whatever, it's just part of the game. I'll pay it, but I'm not waiting an hour in line. So Boardwalk hosted Gina. That's the thing somebody tweeted too. Is like next year at AC's, there's going to be some deals to be had because so many people are going to lose their ass at the casino and have to recoup a little bit of to be able to get back home. So I think that's something to look forward to. It'll be interesting. Just Ben, I'm guessing you mean Leaf, not lead. I did not see a lot of Leaf stuff. They had a table. Brian Gray was there. Their CEO was going to stop and say hey, but he was kind of always covered up. I tell you, the one thing I missed, Ivan at Watch the Breaks, that dude was the busiest guy at the convention. I mean, he was just always back and forth from the stage. When he wasn't, he was, shaking hands, kissing babies. He was all over the place. I was trying to get a second to talk to him on Saturday, but, it was that. So, no, I didn't see a ton of Leaf stuff. Overwhelming stuff was Otani. It was just all over the place. Yeah, a lot of the same wax. You didn't see a ton of. Actually, saw a decent amount of 2011 update. When I say decent, I mean like four tables had them. And considering I've never seen that stuff out in the wild, that was kind of, a little bit. I don't want to say shocking, but like, whoa, you don't see that very often. That kind of thing. And then they ripped that box and they hit like a Trout to 60, which was nuts. So make it a week. Don't book us. Yeah, I'm gonna see about getting a block. I don't really know how a block of hotel rooms works. Somebody mentioned Airbnb earlier. See, book a house. See, that's the kind of thing, Benjamin. In theory, it sounds great. Um, but a lot of guys have never met each other in person, and there's a lot of reservation. Like again, everyone I met was awesome. And I wouldn't, it wouldn't really be much to me, but you don't want to just go basically live with it, or share a house with someone you've never really met in person for a week. I just think that a lot of people would have reservations about that. So I kind of thought about like getting a block of rooms at a hotel, and that's another thing too. You want to pay for the convenience of staying next to the convention center, because like me, you buy a case. Sure as a hell a lot easier to just run over there and drop it off in your room and come right back than lugging around a 50-pound case of Bowman Draft. So it might be something I see about getting a block of rooms and just seeing if we get a discount rate and, just put it on their deep fried plate. Again, I'm not finalizing any of that yet. I'm just kind of some thoughts I've had. Adam, I totally agree. Blake Jamieson was awesome. I ran into him. He was kind of all over the place, but he had a booth in the back. And I went back there and really wasn't even, planning on picking up anything, but he had a Griffey Project 2020 that I didn't have, or Project 70. And the guy that was kind of selling, I was just going to shake Blake's hand because I've had some interactions with him on Twitter and tell him, hey, the guy was like, you want Blake to sign it for you? I was like, sure. And so I talked to him for a minute. He recognized, and I told him from Deep Fried Breaks. He said, oh, yeah, man, we've had some back and forth. And I was just like, yeah, it's that. He might have been, but maybe not. He took a picture. He said he was posting all the pictures he took with people, so I'll be interested to see. See, I thought it was right next to the casinos. Atlantic City's not terribly big, though, is it, for like what it is? And hell, if you're staying at a hotel like that, you probably got a shuttle, and we can just book the shuttle. I don't know. I think there's some ironing out. One thing I will do, I waited kind of late in the game to start booking stuff this year. A, because I didn't know if it was going to be pushed back or not because of COVID. I was a little skeptical on that, because there were some questions up in the air. Now, you have this thing 2-3 weeks from now. I don't know that it's not. I don't know. I'm not getting into all that. I'm just saying, that's a different story. So that's kind of why I waited. I'm not going to wait next year. It just earlier the better. Of course, like as many as our group that can get together would just be awesome. Like we'll plan all kind of stuff. We did the White Sox, and I'll tell you, like I've been to Wrigley. It's my second time at Wrigley. Wrigley's awesome. It's a historic place. If you've never been, you got to go. You got to see the Ivy. It's a historic baseball park. It's awesome. The White Sox place is so much fun. Like I said, I'd never been. It was kind of a bitch to get to. And shout out Tommy. I don't know if you're listening. Tommy picked us up from the airport, or from the hotel. He was dropping his wife off at the airport, which is right by. Picked us up, took us to the game, and Zach, who was sitting with us, Copeland, drove us back. So I mean, just again, I know y'all like both of y'all said you were going that way anyways. It still means a lot. So thanks guys for that. That was awesome. But when we got down there, it was so congested. And Tommy, he's like, man, I go to 15, 20 White Sox games a year, and I've never seen it like this. We finally got parked, and we got in there. If you do it, it depends on what kind of vibe you're looking for. But we sat in the right field. It was called Goose Island. It was like 18 or 20 rows, and almost looked like media seating. And each row, yeah, it's an old place, no doubt. Has pretty rough seats. It's an old ballpark. But the place, it's got like, a whole bar. Like, it'd be like a, bar at a restaurant or whatever, and it'd be like for where 50 people could sit probably or stand, but they limit it to 20 seat, maybe it's 25 seats. And we were in the last 2 rows, and it was standing room only. So we didn't have a bar stool like some of the other people did below us, but still you had the same thing. You could just you could probably go 5 deep. Like if somebody wanted to stand behind me, you could go 5 deep from back to your section. So you didn't have to get up and down every time somebody wanted to go pee or get a drink or whatever, and you're just kind of back and forth talking to each other. And then you could go down in this thing called the Craft Cave, and like you walk to the wall, like you think you're about to walk on the. I actually got yelled at because there was somebody at bat, and I could see over the wall, and I was standing there watching it, and like if they were showing the outfield in the game, you definitely could see my hat and head poked up above it, and the security guard's like, hey, you can't stand there and watch the game. I was like, I just want to see this at bat. He's like, no, we have TVs down here. I was like, okay. So, went down there. And then there's just like 50 tables and stuff down there. You know, full service bar. You order food and sit down there, and there's a plexiglass window up right next to the bullpen, and so you can, or the visitors bullpen, so you can watch like the Indians in this case were warming up. So that was cool. So I had heard, I don't say negative, but yeah, I was not expecting that at the White Sox stadium, and it was awesome. So if you get a spot or a chance, you're in the Chicago area, go check out a Sox game. So yeah, that was just kind of, I just wanted to go live as you can. Like I'm still kind of pumped about it. I'm still kind of riding the energy of the whole week. I just got to meet so many people and hang out with a lot of you guys that I've interacted with on Twitter, but never really seen in person. So I hope a lot more next year. I hope that it was kind of a weird thing, obviously with the pandemic and kind of picking back up again. So, a lot of people were a little weary about it, which totally understand. And so that, I think next year, hopefully all this stuff, the Delta, the Omega, the Tri-Delta variation, John, which if you're still here, no telling how dangerous that one can be. you know, Hopefully all that stuff's cleared up and we're just able to go full wide open and do it. And if so, we'll have a big presence one way or the other. Might have to bootleg some tables from guys, but we'll have a big presence in 2022. And if you're part of the community, then I want you guys to be a part of it. Like I said, I want it to have a spot where you come take a load off and you got a couple slabs you want to put out, that kind of thing. So yeah, again, I just like I said wanted to go. Well, thank you, John. Just kind of give my thoughts, and I didn't want to just tweet everything out. So just a live video, kind of recap of what I saw, what I felt about it. I mean, awesome time. Don't let the negativity on Twitter. Don't let the negativity on Twitter sway you. I think a lot of that comes from jealousy of guys that weren't there. There's literally something for everyone. I think I saw Dub Mentality talk about it. He went in 2019, took $150 and had the time of his life. I'm like, yeah, you do that. I mean, easy. It's just, it's all like, you can collect how you want to collect at these shows. And you don't have to get wrapped up in that, man, there's a $20,000 card I really want. Like, just don't look at it. Just go to the next table. And so it'll be interesting to kind of see where the hobby is this time next year. Somebody posted, if the bubble bursts, would you still go next year? I don't think it's a bubble. Like, sure, there's a little bit of stuff actually it come back down a little bit. So, I don't think that's the case. And even if stuff normalizes a little bit, it would still be an awesome time. So, if y'all have any more questions or anything, feel free to ask. But I just wanted to go live, kind of go give everybody a recap of what I saw. Let you know that we got big plans for 2022. And as for breaks, probably be a little slow this week. I'm not naive enough to think that stuff won't just go crazy. Adam, I saw y'all's pictures of y'all live ripping. That looks so much fun. And that's another thing we got to do. At the hotel, maybe that's something we try and do, like at the hotel, if I am able to get a block or not. Even if not, I'll just kind of say, hey, if you're going and you can, try and get a place here, and we'll all kind of try and stay in the general area. It's not hard to book a conference room, so I might book a conference room and we'll have rip nights. And, everyone can pick up some sealed wax at the hotel or at the show that day and, come back to the hotel and we'll all rip it, and it'd be awesome. It's like, hey, I hit I hit a Wander Topps Chrome rookie auto, and then the guy next to you be like, oh my god, that's awesome, I hit a so and so out of Bowman. That'd be fun. Like, I saw that, I got really jealous of that. So yeah, start making plans now if you can. Just, I don't know, plan on being there if you can. And again, I know it's not for everyone, and but it is a ton of fun if you're in this space and you're a card guy. It's definitely something to do. It's definitely something you want to check out, and don't just solely rely on the negativity on Twitter, because 98% of my experience was positive. Sure, there's some small things that could be fixed, but 98% was positive, and you know, that's all I got. So thanks, guys, and like I said, probably a little slower on breaks. We'll have some stuff, but nothing crazy. I know a lot of people did go, and if you didn't, you might have been able to get some deals from people that were there. So I won't make you spend too much this week, but thanks again, guys, for hanging out with me.